Every birthday, every school play, every family dinner, Lisa watched her father shower her siblings with love while barely acknowledging her existence. For 25 years, she lived with the crushing weight of being the outsider in her own family. But as she opened that dusty envelope in her grandmother's attic, the photograph inside shattered her world. The truth behind her father's rejection will break your heart.
Merry Christmas!
Life can be cruel when you're the only one left out of a family's love. For Lisa Thompson, this wasn't just an occasional occurrence. It was her daily reality for 25 years. From her earliest memories, family gatherings were exercises in invisible pain. Her father David would sweep her brother Michael into playful wrestling matches and lift her sister Sarah onto his shoulders. But when Lisa approached, his smile would fade, his shoulders would tense, and he'd suddenly remember an urgent phone call or unfinished work. During weekend barbecues, he'd serve everyone their favorite foods, remembering exactly how Michael liked his burger and that Sarah preferred chicken. But he never seemed to notice that Lisa always picked the mushrooms off her plate. The contrast was stark at Christmas. Michael would unwrap thoughtfully chosen baseball equipment that matched his growing skills. Sarah would squeal over perfectly selected dance accessories. Lisa would receive generic gift cards or practical items, presents that required no personal investment, no intimate knowledge of who she really was. One year, she watched her father spend hours assembling a dollhouse for Sarah, while her own gift, a department store sweater, still had the price tag attached. At first, Lisa thought she must be doing something wrong. She tried harder in school, bringing home perfect report cards. She joined the debate team because she heard her father discussing politics at dinner. She even took up golf, his favorite weekend activity. But nothing changed. Each attempt at connection was met with the same distant nods, the same avoided glances. Even when she won a junior golf tournament, he stood far from the crowd, clapping mechanically while other parents cheered enthusiastically for their children. As she entered middle school, Lisa began studying her reflection with growing uncertainty. Her siblings shared their father's deep brown eyes and strong jaw, but Lisa's features told a different story. Her green eyes and softer features made her feel like an outsider in family photos. The seed of doubt that had been planted in her mind began to grow. She spent hours flipping through old photo albums, searching for any trace of herself in her father's face. Sometimes, late at night, Lisa would hear her parents arguing in hushed tones, though they'd fall silent the moment she appeared. By her 13th birthday, Lisa had developed theories. Maybe she was adopted. Maybe she was the product of an affair. Maybe there was some dark family secret that explained why her father couldn't bear to look at her. Lisa's relationships suffered as she grew older. How could she trust any man's love when her own father couldn't even look her in the eye? Every boyfriend was held at arm's length, every potential connection sabotaged by her deep-seated fear of rejection. The wound of her father's distance had shaped her entire life. One boyfriend lasted 6 months before telling her that loving her was like trying to embrace a ghost. She was never fully present, never fully trusting. Years passed, and Lisa built a successful career, still hoping that professional achievement might finally earn her father's approval. She threw herself into work, becoming the youngest regional manager in her company's history. Her office wall filled with awards and recognitions, each one a silent plea for the paternal pride that never came. Colleagues admired her drive, never knowing it was fueled by a lifetime of seeking approval from a man who seemed incapable of giving it. Then came the call about her grandmother's passing. As the family gathered to sort through a lifetime of memories, Lisa found herself alone in the attic late one night. Among the dusty boxes, she discovered a small, carefully sealed envelope marked with her grandmother's neat handwriting. Never forget. The envelope contained a single yellowed newspaper clipping from 40 years ago. The headline spoke of tragedy, a local accident at Harrison Park. The article described how several children had been playing while under the supervision of a teenage boy named David Thompson, her father. But it was the photograph accompanying the article that made Lisa's world stop spinning. There, smiling out from the grainy black and white image, was a little girl named Emily Parker. She was 8 years old when she climbed too high in the old oak tree, when the branch cracked, when David Thompson turned away for just a moment too long. Lisa stared at Emily's face, unable to breathe. It was like looking at her own childhood photos. The same delicate nose, the same bright eyes, the same gentle smile. The article described how David had tried to reach Emily in time, how he'd called for help, how he'd stayed with her until the ambulance arrived, but it was too late. In that moment, 25 years of pain shifted into a new perspective. Her father wasn't rejecting her. He was running from his own ghosts. Every time he looked at his daughter, he saw the child he couldn't save. All those years, she'd been searching for signs that she wasn't his daughter, never imagining that she reminded him too much of someone else's child. With trembling hands, Lisa gathered her courage and the newspaper clipping. She found her father in his familiar retreat, the home office where he'd spent so many hours avoiding her. Without a word, she placed the article on his desk. The moment he saw Emily's photo, decades of carefully maintained walls crumbled. For the first time in Lisa's life, she saw her father cry. The story poured out of him, the children playing, his momentary distraction, the sickening crack of the branch, the screams that still haunted his dreams. He spoke of the guilt that had consumed him, how seeing Lisa's face every day was both a blessing and a reminder of his greatest failure. That night marked the beginning of healing for both of them. Lisa helped her father find professional help to process his decades-old trauma. Together, they visited Emily's grave, where her father finally allowed himself to grieve openly. It was the first time they'd touched without him flinching away. Today, after years of therapy and honest conversations, Lisa and her father share weekly dinners filled with laughter and love. While they can't reclaim the years lost to silence, they've discovered that healing knows no timeline. Her father has learned to see Lisa for who she is, not a ghost from his past, but a daughter who never stopped wanting his love. What would you do if you discovered that decades of rejection were actually rooted in love too deep to express?